Gold and silver are roaring forward, and I'm so lucky to have you, yes, you, join me here in the basement. From wherever in the world you are, thank you. You're a fellow basement dweller, at least for the next few minutes. We're going to dig into what's going on in the gold and silver market, but most importantly, I don't want to bring up a subject we probably don't want to spend too much time thinking about, but we got to talk about, are you financially and emotionally prepared if the price of gold and silver were to crash? Because guys, look, anything can happen. We need to make sure we're prepared, we're strong, we're stoic as we face these things. Now, earlier in the week, I made a video when gold was about $18.50 per ounce and made a bold prediction that by Friday, that would be right now today, gold would be at $1,917 per ounce. We're getting really close. I usually make a lot of mistakes, but every once in a while I get one right. As a matter of fact, my wife Susie, she was talking to her friend the other day, and her friend said, you know, you need to embrace your mistakes in life. And you know what Susie did? She came up and gave me a great big hug. Let's dig in. I don't know. What do you think? Does it feel like we're moving into a golden age? Gold and silver are very strong, and from whatever angle we look at it, there seems to be strong factors. A current, like we're now swimming with the current. You know, you ever get in a river? We got a lot of rivers here in Missouri. If you try to swim against the current, you can do it, but it's very, very difficult. And that's what we've been doing for the last 2 years. Now it feels like we've turned around and are getting to swim with the current, which, trust me, is my preferred way to swim. It's much better to take a boat upstream and swim downstream, and it seems like gold has now reached a point where it's swimming with the current, almost every way we look at it. Whether we're talking to the big guys at Goldman Sachs, and by the way, they watch my video, so I want to say a special hi to everybody at Goldman Sachs. I'm glad you get a lot of value from Ron's Basement. If you, more importantly, yes, you watching right now get value, please subscribe right here, give the video a thumbs up, leave a comment. That's where I learn all this, is from you in your comments. So thank you very, very much. So we've got Goldman Sachs, who likes gold, Bank of America, all the big banks. Oh, and by the way, central bank buying through the roof. You know that story. I just read a headline this morning that like somebody says they think the Chinese bought like 100 more tons of gold in the December of this year. We know the big fundamental story. Same thing for silver, right? Industrial demand, investment demand, Indian demand, all that good stuff. Now, let's talk about something that maybe we don't want to talk about, and that is, what if the price of gold and silver were to crash? Are you financially prepared? Are you emotionally prepared for that to occur? The long-term thesis remains, but these things can be a roller coaster. I don't want to say this. I really don't want to have to say this to you, but let's talk about gold hitting $1,100 per ounce again. Let's talk about silver dropping down to $10 per ounce. Financially, are you prepared for that? The first thing you got to make sure is that you, on a personal level, are financially strong. Is your debt at a minimum, or do you have no debt? Trust me, having zero debt is a great way to live life. Debt is the currency of slavery. Don't forget that. So if the metals were to drop down that low, are you in a position where you don't have any debt, you have some cash saved up, and you can capitalize on a situation like that? That happened during the lockdowns in March of 2020. I was able to buy some silver at like $13 per ounce. You have to be quick, and you have to have the cash on hand to be able to make fast moves when the opportunity presents itself. And it kind of takes some of the sting out of a big crash when you're like, okay, I can move in and I can buy. So make sure you keep your debt to a minimum. Make sure you keep some cash on hand. You know, I'm not a big fan of the US dollar or anything like that. But if that were to occur, you do want to have some cash on hand so you can capitalize. I know you're a big, tough man or woman. We don't like to talk about emotions, but are you prepared emotionally for a crash in the price of gold and silver? How would you react? Are you mentally stable, and do you have a long-term vision for your investments in gold, your investments in silver, your investments in precious metal mining stocks? There's a great method called the Carrier method. John Carrier, who was the founder of the Carrier air conditioning company, used to say he would always think about the worst case scenario, the worst thing that could play out. And if that were to occur, would he still be okay? And if he would be okay, then he wouldn't worry about it. So I'm not saying focus on the negative. We don't want to do that. That's no fun. But it doesn't hurt to visit it like worst case scenario. If gold goes to 1,000, if silver goes to $9, are you going to be okay? If you've got a bunch of margin debt on mining stocks, for instance, you may not be okay. You could get completely wiped out. Now, trust me, 2022, I had a tiny bit, and I mean tiny bit of margin. I went against my own advice. Even though it was a tiny bit of margin where I owned some Equinox gold stock on margin, that stock went down horribly along with all the mining stocks, and it was a painful experience. I knew I would be okay. I wasn't margined anywhere near where it would create any type of issue for me or my family or anything like that, but I did eliminate that margin a few months back. I sleep a little better now. You gotta be prepared for some big downturns if you're gonna invest in this area, but knowing that there's also, right, potential for massive upswings, massive gains as well. I don't think gold's going down to 1,000. I don't think silver's going down to $9 or $10 per ounce, but I need to be prepared. You need to be prepared. You need to do a kind of a disaster drill in your head, and if that were to happen, are you okay? From an emotional perspective, it's also important for us to remember the big picture, right? Take a step back, look at why we own the metals, look at our financial situation, and if we get into a disaster situation like that, we'll know that we'll still be okay. Hey, thanks for joining me here in Ron's Basement. I hope you enjoyed this video. I always enjoy when you come here and spend some time with me. It really is an honor. Be well, and I'll see you next time. Hey everybody, it's Ron from Ron's Basement, live on the log flume with Lily. Lily, say hi.
Hi.